Hey guys, welcome back to Heroes of the Storm. Today I'm going to bring you another micro guide, this time one of my favourite heroes, just had a new mount and skin release. It's Uther. For those of you who don't know, Uther is a very high skill cap, very well rounded, really good healer. He has three abilities that all really can do, they have a massive impact the moment they're done, as opposed to moves like Regrowth that don't really have a massive impact, or moves like Pixie Dust which can, but in the late game all three of his abilities have massive impact the second you cast them, assuming you land them on the right things. So the first one is his Q, big mana cost, big cooldown, big heal. It's a really surprisingly useful big heal, but you have to be very careful about overhealing things, so I'll get more into that in a minute, but yeah, Holy Light, big heal on someone, really quite simple. Holy Radiance is a skill shot, heals all allies, damages all enemies. As a healer, you're going to want to use this 95% of the time to heal your allies, getting as many allies in it as possible, and to damage them if you're really having trouble clearing waves, but you really shouldn't be on your own when you're in the wave clear. And Hammer of Justice does a little bit of damage and stuns someone. As you can probably see, all of his abilities have surprisingly long cooldowns, so the way you kind of want to work with Uther is using your abilities at the most efficient way possible. As a result of this and the other moves, which I'll get into in a second, he has a very high skill cap and is actually very difficult to use to his full potential. But if you manage to get to that point, you will really play him incredibly well. So the first thing we're going to do is go over the build. At level 1, he has incredible mana problems throughout the entire game, so you go with Conjurer's Pursuit. As a result of this, you're going to want to stay in lane for as long as possible and get every single regen globe that drops, to the point of which that if the wave gets shoved and you're going to take 1 or 2 cannon shots, just so you secure you get the regen globe, do this. But don't do this wave after wave. Do this once or twice a wave. If the guy you're laning with dies or has to pull back for whatever reason, let that wave shove and just make sure you get the regen globe. Because if you can get 5, 6, 7, even up to like 10 and 12 before you have to leave your lane, you're going to have so much more sustain in the late game. Into level 4, you take Protective Shield. The other abilities here are good, but Protective Shield is just so much stronger. This is another ability which you have to use with Uther, and mouse, basically you select either yourself or another allied hero and it will shield them for 15% of their max HP. As a result, it's more effective to use on people that have high max HP, really effective on people like Asmodan and Arthas and any of the tanks really, and really not effective on people like Abathur and Murky because it will shield them for such a tiny amount of anything. They'll just get taken down so incredibly quickly. But you want to take it and use it before a fight or as they're getting damaged. Just you want to make sure it's used. It doesn't matter if it's used instantly as long as it's used. At level 7, the choice is between Cleanse or Clairvoyance. If they have a lot of CC, go with Cleanse. If they have no CC and a few stunners, a few stealthers rather, go for Clairvoyance. I will go for Cleanse most of the time. This is the more really difficult ability to use properly. If you are getting new to this, it has got an incredibly long range on it, as you can see here. You want to use it to make sure that you get rid of a really big ult. You can either use it on, say, if you're up against an ETC and you have someone dedicated to interrupting his mosh pit, using it to get him out of the mosh pit so he can interrupt it is always a good one. Using it to get rid of Octograb's a great one as well. Kael'thas is stun to initiate. All of these abilities are really useful for just dropping it. It has a surprisingly short cooldown and it has no mana cost, so don't be afraid to just use it to get rid of a slow on someone if they're running away. All kinds of good stuff like that. It removes silences as well, so if you're out of range and there's an ETC in an incredibly good spot to use Mosh Pit but it's hit with a silence, you can cast that on him and he can get a Mosh Pit off. Really useful, but it takes ages for you to get really good at it, and it reduces the duration of any other CC after this by 50%, so you can precast it if you really want to, but it's really not very useful to do that because having them 50% duration is basically nothing compared to removing it entirely. At level 10, the go-to talent here is going to be Divine Shield. The Invulnerable and the 20% move speed is just incredibly strong. If you really are struggling for damage and CC, you can go for Storm, but Divine Shield is going to be so much stronger in the current meta. Use it on a tank when they're running in, or an Illidan if they're really trying to get a lot of damage off. Someone who's in an incredibly good position to deal a lot of damage or do their role incredibly well, use it on them to make sure they get the full duration of that time properly. Or if you're in full retreat, use it on the person lagging at the back who might be getting picked off. At level 13, you can take Shrink Ray, use it on the DPS who gets in your backline or the person who's at the back and will get away if you can use it to secure picks or just to stop your backline taking a significant amount of damage. Don't use it randomly on anyone. Don't try and use it if it's not a very clean fight that's happening. At level 16, take Benediction. As you can see now, at level 16 you have 8 abilities you have to use. Benediction is a strange one. You have to activate it before using an ability, and then it means that the next ability you use comes up a lot quicker and has basically no cooldown. Well, that has no cooldown if you're using it on Hammer of Justice. This does not work with these 3 abilities. It's only basic abilities, so only your Q, W, and E. You can use it on Hammer of Justice if you want to chain stun someone to hell. You can use it on Holy Radiance if you want to heal your team up a whole hell of a lot. Or you can use it on Holy Light if you just want to heal one person up loads. I would probably recommend popping it early and using it on the tank when he tries to engage and takes a crap ton of damage. If you put shield on him, if you go 1 on him, which is your shield, Benediction, and then Holy Light, wait for him to take a little bit more damage, Holy Light again, then you can run in, stun their DPS, and then Divine Shield your Illidan or Butcher, whoever in the back line. You'll be amazed at how well you do, and then you can run back at this point and cleanse any CC that's on your back line and shrink ray the person in your back line. And then if you do that cleanly without being interrupted, you're probably going to win that team fight. So at level 20, you want to go with Redemption, unless you're definitely never dying ever. If you've died like once the entire game and you're just absolutely stomping them, in which case go for Storm Shield. A lot of people have said Bulwark of Light is pretty good, but 2 seconds longer is good because of course it's like a 66% increase in the duration, but it shouldn't really need 5 seconds worth of invulnerability. And the 20-second cooldown reduction is nice, but you shouldn't really need it that much. So Redemption 99.9% of the time, but if you really are fine, go with Storm Shield, and plus Redemption's good fun. In the early game and throughout the entire game, do not go solo. Always go with someone. Preferably with someone who has high HP and high damage potential, but lacks CC. People like Jaina and Illidan are really good for you to go with, because you can land your stuns and all that. If you really are on your own and everyone else, like if you have an Abathur or someone on your team, don't be afraid to go roaming. And then just roam to different places and make sure you but if you go roaming, try and make sure you get, from every time you arrive in a lane, make sure you get at least 1 regen globe from that trip. You are going to miss out on a few, which could suffer your late game a significant amount, but yeah, you might be able to pull it off basically. In the mid game, do that rotation I said with, make sure you use your shield to get someone big, and then if they initiate, use cleanse on the person who's been initiated on, things like judgment, stuff like that. Use shrink ray on the person whenever they want to get in your backline, or the person in their backline who's dealing a crap ton of damage like Jaina or Kel'Thas. Use benediction to give burst healing or to sustain CC, and then whenever you see someone in their backline on your team either overextended or just like really doing a lot of work, but is having a little bit of trouble getting in the right position to do this, his health isn't so much of a problem, maybe, or he's just is in danger of being bursted down, put Divine Shield on him. Incredibly good. As I say, Uther's an incredibly difficult hero to play to his maximum potential. He is incredibly strong when played to his maximum potential. There are a few other builds that I'm not really going to go over, but there are like damagey builds you can do with him and all kinds of crazy stuff. I'll just show you what Divine Shield looks like. As you can see, it has quite a long range. When you throw it on someone, it looks like that, and they move quick and they become invulnerable. That's what that looks like. To give you an example, Benediction does. I've popped it now, so that means my next ability will have the effect of it. If Arthas would step out of his lane for a second, I'll show you what that's like when you use Hammer of Justice with it. So, bollocks, I'll just cast it on him. Come on. Come on. Why does the arrow do this? Why is the arrow... Anyway, so you cast one and then it's instantly up again, so you can just cast straight away. You want to wait a little bit, don't go E because the stuns overlap, and then you end up missing out on a few seconds of stun. Yeah, have fun with him. He's a great fun hero. Buy the Judgment skin because it's the best skin I've ever seen in this game, and have a lot of fun with it. He's, as I say, incredibly difficult to play, but once you do play him to his high potential, you're really gonna feel like you're the best healer ever. Don't worry about if you let a few people die in the early game. Uther's power really only starts to come in post level 10. Yeah, that's that. This has been How to Play Uther. I have been Mr. G, and I'll see you next time.